Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the other side. We're going to have an interesting topic here this evening. Before I cover that, the current temperature here in good old PA is a brisky 27 degrees, and with the wind, it feels like a very cold 23 degrees. So we are in, actually, now it just popped up on my phone. We're in for a winter weather advisory tonight. So let's see what it says. Winter weather advisory remains from 1 p.m. Saturday to 1 a.m. Sunday. Freezing rain and snow accumulations up to 1 inch and ice accumulations up to 1 to 2 tenths of an inch. So that's kind of not good because we have an investigation. Woo woo! Finally coming up. And it's back at the Johnston House over in Ligonier. We've been there before. Lovely people, lovely place. We cannot wait to get there tomorrow. So let's just keep our fingers crossed that we can get there without any accidents or incidences. So tonight, topic's going to be the afterlife. Now, afterlife, is it something that is a continuation or is death the end? Um, the afterlife is the idea that some of the person, their energy, soul, etc., continues to exist after their physical body dies. A lot of people believe in the afterlife, a lot don't. That's what our goal as paranormal investigators is to go out there, see if we can find that proof that you can communicate to your loved ones. A lot of us, we know. I know my mother's around all the time, so it's just a matter of being able to prove to whoever that, you've got that proof that's showing that you are able to communicate and that once you physically pass, that's not necessarily the end. So now types of afterlife we're going to go into. So there's reincarnation. Reincarnation is being reborn into a new body or form after death, also known as the transmigration of the soul. Now, a lot of these things, and I'm going to be mentioning that soon here, does base on the religion that you happen to follow. Keep an eye too, guys. If you see my doorway there in the back, we know we've been seeing shadows and that walking through. If any of you guys ever notice anything back there, please let me know because Gabriella and I last night when we were kind of logging off thought we saw something move back there. So please let me know about that. That would be very cool if we could capture that live while I'm on here. Okay, eternal life. That's living on in a spiritual realm such as heaven or hell for eternity. Now, that's another thing. A lot of people believe that there's a heaven. A lot of people believe that there's a hell. Some people believe that when they were in near-death experiences, they saw the bright light. They went into like a tunnel, and it was all peaceful, and they felt like they were on the process of entering into heaven. Some people believe hell is a fiery pit below, that if you're not a good person on earth or you're very bad, you end up going to that pit of hell, and you will burn, and that'll be it. And your soul be with the devil. I personally believe that our life here on earth is hell. It, everybody's going to have different opinions. Where else are you going to feel pain and suffering, watch loved ones die, especially ones that are healthy and then they unexpectedly die? Um, Political parts, aspects, religious aspects, just shootings, these airplane crashes, all these mysteries that's happening all around the world. We're physically seeing that every day. So I kind of believe that the theory that Earth here, what we are living in our physical being is our personal hell. Um, like I said, beliefs in the afterlife usually depend on the type of religion you are. In some religions, they believe that the body is resurrected after death, whereas in other religion, the soul is what survives. For example, in Buddhism, they believe in rebirth. In Hinduism, they believe in rebirth. Christianity, they believe that Jesus' promise is true, that there will be no more death, mourning, crying, or pain. And a lot of people ask, okay, well, then, if this happens when you pass away, well, what happens when you're cremated? Well, according to what I was researching, many believe that that's it. Once you're cremated, your body, your soul, everything, it's burnt in the fire. You no longer exist. Your soul can't even survive. Um, Cremation has been seen as a way to break free of the cycle and way to purify. Let me see the soul. The fire is believed to cleanse the soul of any impurities. Once purified, it begins its journey to the next life. So I'm not sure if that's tied with a certain religion or where that came from, but that kind of makes a lot of sense. Like, isn't when you pass, isn't that just energy that's carrying on and moving on? So if that's the case, that does make a lot of sense that the fire is actually purifying your soul and cleansing. It makes a lot of sense. In most traditions, it's believed that it takes up to 40 days after death for the journey of the soul to travel, which is interesting because different religions believe different time periods. And that is a big question, is from the time you pass, how long does it take for your soul to travel the earth? In Hindu, it's believed that the soul leaves the body but stays connected for up to 13 days before that transition begins. Now, there is a transition period, they called it martyrdom, and that's where you're in that state of you're not quite passed on, but you're in that state that your eyes just go completely blank and you're almost like comatose, and you're in that, like, you're not quite dead, but you're not quite alive yet. Like, you're actually transitioning from the physical realm to whatever realm there may be. Um, Buddhism, they said it takes up to 49 days, they believe. Christianity believes that it's immediate. Islam believes that the soul remains in its intimate state, Barzakh, what Barzakh, a waiting period between death and the day of judgment. So there is actually no time period, that it's just simply a waiting period. In the paranormal and spiritual world, spiritualists and paranormal researchers believe spirits stay in the physical world for various periods of time, especially if they have unfinished business or strong emotional ties to someone or something among the living world. This is where some believe that the 40-day period, while others believe they linger indefinitely. And a lot of people do believe that. I personally, I've watched a lot of shows on the afterlife, a lot of shows on paranormal. I've been involved in this genre for a very, very, very long time, and I really agree that, say you're in a car accident or you're in a house fire or however, and you die suddenly, that your business that you had on earth isn't finished yet. You want answers, like what happened, like why did this happen to me? Or a better example was somebody that got murdered, like, and it's an unsolved mystery. Do you linger around and stay so that you can help someone by means of, like, what we do, paranormal research? You're able to communicate with them and tell them exactly how you died, who killed you. It kind of makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Um, let's see. Let's see. How far away? Let me ask a question. Couple. Are you talking, Linda? You was asking how far away was for an investigation. It's maybe about half an hour away. So as long as the weather's good, we should be good. But I'll get to every question in that after I get. Do I think it's a choice for the unfinished business thing? Many believe that you do have a choice if you want to cross over. Some believe that it's not so much your choice, it's that when you're ready to cross over, if there is a heaven or a hell, if it's not your time yet, that you were told to go back until you finish or clear up the unfinished business that you have, or the tie to a certain person to give them closure and things like that. I mean, there's a lot of mysteries surrounding a lot of that unfinished business, and I like this again. I believe in you didn't get a chance to say your your loved ones your final goodbye. You didn't get the answers. Some people want they don't even know that they got killed. You know, they're wondering. They're still thinking they're among the living, and they don't even realize that they're dead. I know in some of our investigations that we've actually had like up on our spirit box and whatever, saying, "Am I dead?" And you know, I know when we was at the cemetery before we got chased or whatever with the I know it was a skinwalker. I have no doubt in my mind. Um, we came one of the things came through like, "Am I dead?" And Abby broke down. She just lost it. And she said, "Yeah, unfortunately you are." And I think what made it so extra emotional for her is that we were in Potter's Field. So it was the area where they just put bodies, and they didn't put any names on they didn't even have markers even on a lot of there was just graves or no headstones, no markers. They were like literally nobodies. So we got and we told the people resting there in that cemetery, "You're not forgotten. We're going to make sure that people know that you're here. We don't have names to attach to you. We want to make sure that people know that you are here in this grave and that you were somebody, that you shouldn't have just been tossed in there like," because a lot of times it was people that were wards of the court, poor people, people that had no families. And it's sad. It really is. Um, it's just that there's a lot of things that we might not ever get answers for. But again, that's why paranormal researchers and investigators do what they do. That we want those answers so that we can give assurance to the loved ones. Hey, yeah, that your family are there. They can communicate with you. Um, People who have experienced near-death experiences and mediums believe that spirits often visit loved ones in dreams by certain signs within the first few weeks of their loved one's death. Now, many of you, if you watched Gabriella and I on Real Talk, and we've kind of touched on that subject off and on, I'm sure you remember me telling you that on my when my dad passed away, my dad was an alcoholic. And when my dad passed away, on the night of his funeral, we could hear footsteps going up and down our stairs. You could smell whiskey real strong. That was his only thing he drank was whiskey. Um, there was a lot of stuff going on in our house around that period of time. And I had fallen asleep. I know I was not asleep. And I heard my name called and I recognized the voice. And it was my dad. And when I looked over, my dad was sitting in his favorite chair right beside the bed. And he looked at me, he said, "Diane, you don't need to worry. Everything's okay now." So it wasn't a dream. He was there, very vivid. But they say that they can come back to you like that because they do want to tell you. In that case, maybe that was my dad's unfinished business, that he wanted to assure members of the family, "Hey, I'm not suffering anymore. I'm okay." So, like, he went through a lot of shit before he died. And like I said, there was just a lot of stuff going on in the house. So, So Eric's here, Linda's here, everybody that you want to watch it on their reboot, make comments if anything for future shows, anything like that. Um, I'm going to continue on, and then after I'm done, I had about, I normally have it in my regular notebook, but I had about 5 or 6 pages here written down of what I found, and quite interesting stuff. And it's always been a fascinating subject with me. Now, people want to know what the difference between a soul and a spirit is. The soul is our humanity that makes us feel emotions. The spirit is a deeper connection with the Lord when we believe in God and we receive Jesus. Our body is the outermost part, our soul is inward, and our spirit is the innermost, the deepest part of our being, which I did not know that. So, again, our body is the outermost part, our soul is the inward part, and our spirit is the innermost. So, I didn't honestly know that there was a really big difference. And like Eric said, I never knew, I didn't know that either. And that's why I'm glad I did the research that I did because, like the Aleister Crowley show that I did, I found out things that I didn't know. And there's a lot of really, really interesting facts. Now, they said that you can tell when your spirit will visit you. There's different signs, which a lot of us know through paranormal investigating. For those who believe that we're actually capturing, there's still people out there saying, oh, don't use the equipment, it's bogus. Don't do that it's bogus. Don't, you know, then why are we doing any of it? I'm still saying that if we had the most concrete proof ever, somebody is going to step in and say, oh, I can explain that. So why are we doing this? I love what we do. I'm going to continue doing it. And I know when we capture something or we hear something or see it, we actually experienced it and we've debunked every reason and cause for it. So, whatever, we know what we saw. You weren't there. That's how it's going to be. Okay, when a spirit visits you, there's different signs like lights will flicker, your electronics will turn on and off, your animals will act strangely. You might get, and there's like, I think 14 different things that I have here. One, unexplained sense, familiar sense with no explanation or anything from where they came from. I've experienced that. The lilacs. A lot of times I'll know if my mom's around, I'll get lilac or floral scent because she loved floral scents a lot. Especially she was like me, she loved lilacs. Um, when my dad died, for example, he was an alcoholic. His favorite drink was whiskey, smelled whiskey. My neighbor that I talked about last night a little bit with me and Abby on the poetry thing, she liked lilacs. Her dad used to bring me lilacs for a table. I, I will smell them sometimes when I have her in my mind. So, number two, dreams, especially vivid dreams of your deceased that are or seem real with a powerful connection, reassurance, guidance, etc. I had that dream that I also last night was talking about where my friend, she was like standing right there and she said, I'm okay. I'm here. I'm not gone. And she was talking to me just like I'm talking to you. And she pretty much reassured me, hey, yeah, I might not be in the physical realm, but I'm still here with you, and I know that you care. And I think that's the reassurance part because there was things that happened. I kind of feel I'm not going to say guilty. I don't like to use that word because I know I'm not responsible for her death, but I still have that if I could have helped her. It that'll never go away. And it's like she came to me to reassure me, like Diane, my mind was made up. I knew what direction there was going. Don't blame yourself. So, number three, sudden changes in room temperature without a logical explanation. one of the biggest things in paranormal investigations, you'll either get real, real cold, you'll get really, really hot. Unfortunately, yesterday, that was yesterday, Eric, right? When I was getting that cold spell? The day before yesterday, I had the uncontrollable chills again, like I know when something's going to happen. I had that happen. I automatically dismissed that. I don't know. You cannot, I wouldn't say paranormal, more supernatural. I think they're all kind of related, though. Um, I knew something was not right. And then Tom told me that he almost had an accident at work. So I guess that would have been more of a foreseeing premonition, but which all ties in, not so much with the afterlife, but in that genre. Um, so that's happened. Number four, feeling a presence or their presence near you. We've had that happen a lot. I can usually tell now. I haven't felt my mom for a while, but usually if I think she's near me, I I can usually feel it. The same as when we're doing investigating. Gabriella seems to be the biggest one in the family that will feel something around her and know that, hey, okay, we should be able to communicate because I know there's somebody here. The location we're going to tomorrow, the caretaker or facilitator that works there, she's got that very strong feeling of presence. She actually knows when they're around her and they like her, they respect her, she respects them. It's pretty cool. So we're gonna have an interesting investigation again tomorrow. So number five, hearing their voice. Again, that night my dad passed away. First thing I knew the voice was familiar. I knew who it was. It was my dad. We've had other voices like that. Now, I've never heard my mom so far that I can recall. Um, Same as my friend. Well, my friend, when she kind of talked to me, it was like a dream, but not a dream because it was that vivid. But I heard her voice. So I don't know if it was actually me hearing her voice or me remembering what her voice sounded like. It's kind of hard to explain, but that makes sense. Number six, finding objects out of place or missing, which is ironic because the house that we moved from South Carolina, we all experienced it, especially in the bathroom that was in our bedroom. We would put, like, say, a shampoo bottle on the back of the toilet or our rings or something while we were taking a shower, and we'd come out and they weren't there. Even sometimes clothes, like a, a shirt or something, would set it there, would come out, and we're there like, where is it? And we knew we put it there, but it was not there. It would be like walk through the door and there's our bed. It would be laying on our bed. So that's supposed to be a big sign that there is a spiritual presence. And I guess that would almost be a little bit like a trickster or prankster, like, hey, I got your item. Can you find it? I think it would be kind of more in that like part of the spiritual world. Number seven is electrical disturbances. Several places we went. The one theater we went, which we didn't get to show any footage of because it was all contaminated. The audio completely went, which ironically was the claims there in that hey, they show movies and a lot of times they have audio issues, and that's supposed to be what the particular spirits in that building does. There's been times I know a lot of people blame it on the weather. It's either gets too hot, it gets too cold, and it drains your batteries. But come on, guys. I mean, you only can use that excuse so long. There's been times that we've been in pretty much the dungeon in the basement in the jail stays the stays stays the same temperature pretty much steadily throughout the whole entire year because it's a basement and a dungeon. The only difference is in the winter, it'll get like a freeze box, but like even through the summer, it stays cool in those areas pretty much all the time. But then when you get a big fluctuation in the temperature and your batteries are going dead and everything, it it can't be just, hey, it got hot, it got cold. The temperature pretty much stays the same the whole time. So you can't really blame it on, the temperature difference. I don't know. I guess we could probably go over it 1,000 times, do it. It was like when we was with 27 Spirits, when they went down, when they went for their tour before they did their investigation. We walked down in that dungeon and it was cold. We started walking up the steps and all of a sudden with beads of sweat pouring off of us, like just for no reason. And before that, you know, your equipment goes, well, Abby, every time she went down in the basement, any one of us could go down in the basement and film whatsoever, no problems. Our machines never acted up. Abby would go down, and every time she went down to film by herself, her equipment acted up. How do you explain that? We were just right there a couple minutes before her, and it was the same as Gabriella's bedroom down in South Carolina. She would go in and one thing would happen. We'd go in, nothing. She'd go back in, it'd happen again. That was the same as down in the basement in the jail. Abby would go in, her equipment would act up. We'd go down in, nothing. Abby goes back in, her equipment acts up. We go down, nothing. Can't explain it. Hey, to each their own. Okay, number 8, the feeling of being touched or brushed against, like light strokes, a gentle touch. A lot of people claim, which we watch in Casper's site, which I was talking about him last night. Hilarious guy, but very, very good. I love his show to death. I would subscribe to him if I were you because he's awesome. Um, the feeling that when you're walking somewhere and it's almost like you walked into a pile of spider webs and you're there like going, did I just walk into spider webs? And there's nothing there. There's no spider webs. There's nothing hanging, but you get that slight brush feeling like over your hair or on your back. But sometimes, I mean, I've experienced slight touches. When we were down in Williamston at the municipal building in South Carolina, I felt somebody press against my back like they were leaning over me, seeing what I was watching on my phone because I think I had Spirit Talker on, or I might have had an SLS or something on it, or playing with something, and I could feel that pressure like somebody was leaning over my back. When I had my gauze meter on and I was sitting at the table and I felt the presence of the little girl that's supposed to be there, I could at times feel almost like she slightly brushed against me. She apparently felt comfortable around me. So, excuse me, my mouth gets real dry because of this cold flu. Well, I'm pretty sure it's not the flu. I think it's just like the tip of bronchitis or just the change in the weather brought it on. It's this time of the year, everybody's sick. Number 9, signs through nature, like animals will suddenly appear or behave in an unusual way. Many believe that the cardinal is a sign of a loved one coming back and making an appearance. We've had that on occasion. We don't see any cardinals around whatsoever. Ironically, we have a loved one on our mind. A cardinal appears almost like, voila, here I am. I want to let you know that I'm here. I'm watching over you. Our animals, we said Max that one day he was sitting on the couch and he just like almost went into a trance staring at something here in the dining room and he pissed on our couch. Like, and he did not know he was doing it. Even when we pulled him away, Max, Max, and we put him aside, it was like he still had that like trance like state, like, okay, where am I at? What's going on? He just did not know or realize what was going on, and we think it was because he saw something, whatever we're seeing out in the dining room. The cat does the same thing, Pee Wee. Um, we've had animals approach us before, or something just out of the blue would come up, no explanation. That's supposed to be a sign of maybe a loved one appearing, or the animal sensing that a loved one or somebody is near. Number 10, a sense of inner knowing, just knowing the feeling that someone is close to you. I think we all get that. I mean, whether you are spiritual and you believe, um, or you actually believe in seeing spirits or the afterlife or the paranormal. Everybody, I think, at one time or another gets that feeling that a loved one is around them, that they're looking over you and watching you and making sure that you're okay. I think we've all experienced that. Number 11, messages in repeated number patterns. For example, 1111, 222, 2020. It's often referred as to angel numbers and can carry a significant spiritual connection, a way for spirits to communicate with you. They can appear in the most random places, receipts, clocks, different areas like that. So, I mean, I'm sure that there's been times that it's happened to you that, like, no matter where you go, somewhere the number seven will show up, or 777, or 666. A lot of people believe that that's the mark of the devil, but in actuality, 666 is a good number, but a lot of people panic. I mean, you have to really look up. I'll have to do a whole thing on 666 sometime, or a little excerpt of it when Gabrielle and I does the show, because it's not always meaning the sign of the devil or the mark of the devil or anything like that. That's just kind of, it was adapted into the sign of the beast and through the dark side of the paranormal magic, whatever you want to call it. Number 12, songs and music. A certain song with significance that randomly keeps popping up, a specific track or song playing at a precise moment when you have a deceased loved one on your mind. I've had that happen. Just out of the blue, a certain song would come up and it play in your head, and then you're there. Wait a minute. Like, there's a song. It was called. Who was it? Who wrote it? I'm trying to think what her name was. It was called "The Songbird," and my dad loved that song. And every now and then, I can hear the lyrics of "Songbird" come up, and I'm there. Okay, that was my dad's song. So, you know, it's ironic that all of a sudden it came up. Um, there's different songs that I know that will be traveling, and all of a sudden a song will come up, and you're there. Okay, boy, I remember that playing when this happened. So, songs and music can have that paranormal afterlife effect. Um, Again, we're going to get back into unusual animal behavior. That's number 13. Cats will start staring into space or hissing at nothing, which we've had that happen a lot. Definitely, animals will pick up a lot quicker than humans will. They seem to see and know things before we do. That's why a lot of times they'll use animals in health. Um, they sometimes can sense that there's something going on with your health that you don't even know, and will kind of hint to you, you better go get checked out because I know what I'm seeing and feeling going on with you. They have that sense about them, and they can see and hear things that we can't. So your dog start acting up or your cat starts acting up and out of the ordinary, of course you're going to check to see if it's something involving health issues or something like that with them, but don't outrule that it could be that they're trying to tell you something, that they're feeling something or seeing something that you're not seeing. It's not unusual or not not normal for them to, or yeah, unusual for them to kind of indicate that there's something going on that we don't know. Um, Especially if they seem scared or frightened. When we moved into the one house and here, it's probably maybe 40 minutes from where we live now. We Before we actually moved down to South Carolina for the first time, we rented out this house, and there was a lot of stuff going on with it. And we had King at that time, which was our black lab with really bright blue, baby blue eyes. He had husky in him. And we walked in that house, and no sooner we walked in the house and we walked in the kitchen, and he looked up in the kitchen, up at the corner of the wall. and he kept on staring, and then he backed up in fear. Like, what were there? Like, what are you seeing up in that corner of that kitchen? And then we would take him up to um, the stairs, and the room that Abby and Gabriella had at that time, he would not cross the threshold to go into their bedroom. He would go right up to their bedroom. He would stop dead in his tracks right there. He would not cross that threshold. They would try to coax him in with toys. They would try to coax him in with treats. He would not go there. So there was something there. And then there was a couple times, even when we were going upstairs to go to bed or whatever the case may be, he would start going up the steps and he'd stop dead in his tracks, and then he'd go walk backwards. He did that down in our cellar there, and he also did that up in the attic in the house. So what he was seeing or what he was trying to tell us, we don't know, but we paid attention. So we knew, and it was the same house where I told you, which unfortunately I wish we would have had and used our brains at that time. But I wish we would have had our phone recording. That was when, for about a good hour or two, that one night when Tom and I were laying in bed, our bedroom door would open, part way, close, full way. It was doing this, and it would actually, you could latch, you would hear it latch, and then you'd hear the click where it unlatched. It was doing that, like, I'm going to say at least an hour or two, and we're there watching it do that. So, and number 14 on the list is seeing their name or favorite things. What is that? Okay, that was a big beep. Spirits are claimed to guide you to see their name, initials, or something they loved in strange places, like on billboards, in a book, on television, when you least expect it, running by accident into a favorite flavor, food, or object tends to serve as a reminder that they may still be watching over you. So, I mean, that has happened too. Like you're watching um, a movie or something, and all of a sudden something just kind of like catches your eye. Or, and for example, you watch a movie and there's something particular in the movie, and then you're going elsewhere and something that kind of connects, that relates, but also somehow connects with a loved one. If that's making any sense to you, the way I'm explaining it, that the same thing, you'll see the same thing in a movie that you see on a billboard that you had just got done reading a book, like all in a short period of time, that somehow connects in one way or another to a deceased loved one. Maybe that explained it a little bit better. Makes sense. Okay. Here's the thing. Here's this is like kind of going on the last page, and it's going to lead into a real. I touched on it last night a little bit on Real Talk. What do you feel at the moment of death? Now, again, according to the religion, some people believe that once your body completely shuts down, you are dead. That's it. Others believe that what they call martyrdom period, that transitional, that you have signs, you know that you're passing, your body kind of goes into that transitional state. You're not quite dead, but you're not quite alive, and you're taking that journey where your spirit and your soul is actually leaving your body and going to wherever. Now, that's where people claim with their near death experiences. Some claim that they saw Jesus and they saw the gates of heaven, and it was the most beautiful, peaceful place. Others report that did go into a tunnel, but it wasn't bright light, that it was a dark tunnel and it was all dark, and they they couldn't explain, but it wasn't a feeling of gloom or despair. It's just it was a feeling of emptiness, that there was just nothing. It was just all dark. It was just all empty. that they couldn't explain it. Others explained that they felt like they were taking the journey and they were met by a loved one, and the loved one says, "No, it's not your time. You need to go back. We would love to have you with us, and we miss you, but your time is not finished on Earth yet. You still have things to take care of, and you can't cross over. You need to go back." And that's why sometimes some people claim that if you have a loved one on a deathbed, that you can actually pull them back yourself. We think we had that happen with our dog. It's I don't even know if I can even say it without breaking down and crying. But when King was 14 years old, and it was that damn house down there too. It was always the same spot. Every one of our animals that passed away passed in that same spot. Pee Wee had a seizure in that spot and almost died, and thank goodness Tom saved him. But King had his big, like, grand mal seizure in that spot, and that should have been it for him. And we're crying and crying, and we're there, oh Kingy, and I think he was ready to go, but he saw us crying, and we said, "It's okay, King. We love you. You can go. And we miss you." And I think he heard that pain and sorrow in us, and he just wouldn't go. He just would not go. So we had to get out of the room, and we just kind of had to let him go on his own. And they had to assure him, Tom and Chase, that, King, you got to go, buddy. You're old. You lived a good, healthy, wonderful life with us, full of love. It's your time, buddy. You're suffering. You got to go, because he was getting very thin. He was he had like a mini seizure before that. He was starting to lose control of his bladder and his bodily functions, and he knew that we loved him so much that it was holding on. And it was just, it was a hard thing to watch. Um, but what do we feel at the moment of death? The answer is we don't know. We don't know. We might not ever know for sure. Some people with near death experiences claim to see the bright light or dark tunnel, like I said. Some claim to have seen people they knew, like I just said, and were told it was not your time. Some say that they felt peaceful, felt the sensation of leaving their physical being. Some claim to have actually seen their own body float above. There's been a lot of people said that when they was in their near-death experience, they could see the doctors working on them in the hospital bed, in the operating room, or in the emergency room. Some people said that they could see themselves when they were in a car accident, or whatever other near-death experience, that they could physically see the EMTs around the vehicle, or the fire people helping them and putting them on the ambulance. So, like, are we saying that we're going to debunk all of that, that didn't happen? I'm not ever going to say that. They're telling you they saw that. They can describe down to the detail exactly what the EMT workers was doing, or the hospital staff. Why would you disbelieve that? I don't know. Um, like I have on here, hospital, car accidents, etc. Um, the other question is, can you choose your moment of death? That's what I was kind of touching on with a little bit. Some claim that they were guided by a loved one to return to their physical being because it simply was not your time yet. Some people say that their loved one waited until all relatives were present before they chose to go. That has happened. I know my mom, unfortunately was not able to go to the hospital when my mom was passing away, but she did want her children there. Unfortunately, I was not able to be there at that time, and my brother was telling me that she was kind of holding on, and he kept on telling her, "Mom, go join dad, go join your brother, go join your sister." And he said finally in that last moment, he could see a tear run down her cheek, and she gave her last breath and she passed. I know, other people that was in the hospital, um, and it was pretty close to their time, and they held on until they looked and saw every single family member in that room, and then they just closed their eyes and passed peacefully. Well, you can't not believe in that stuff. It there's not answers for everything, but there's a lot of, and I'm gonna say proof in those aspects that that type of thing is real, does go on. So, I mean, that's why we study, that's why we research, and that's why I like researching things, and a lot of the topics that I will be covering on here will be on things like that. Some I might not have the answer for. It'd be like this, can I say yes 100% there is life after death or there's reincarnation? No, I can't. Right now, nobody can. I mean, everybody's still trying to find that proof. But can I say I believe it and I feel like I've experienced some of them in a lot of ways? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of things that I can guarantee you that I saw. Another example is like psychics. I'm not saying I'm a psychic. I'm not I don't know a foreseer, but I had a feeling, an experience one day, when I was a teenager. We used to go up our old school ground hill, and we used to play chicken. We'd go up to the very top of the hill, and then there was another hill, and there's some houses up on the top. And we'd play chicken to see who could go up there and go on the porch of the one house, touch the doorknob on the door, and they made it. They weren't chicken because it was a real eerie house. Well, my brothers and them were all playing that, and I was just walking up and down the first set of hills, and this thing passed me, and I said hi. I looked ahead like I thought it was kind of weird because like a hooded like cloak or something. Hi, looked at him. I don't remember seeing a face, and I kind of dawned on me, and I looked back, and that person wasn't there. Ironically, I was told, and I kind of was paying attention because we was kind of keeping an eye on the clock 'cause we a curfew to get back home. Ironically, at the same time that I ran across this person, one of our neighbors had passed away. They were watching a football game. It was on a Sunday, and they're watching the game, and the family went to ask the father a question, didn't get no response, and he had died peacefully watching the football game. So uh, that's kind of like questions we'll never have answers for. Now, getting on martyrdom, I started touching base on it last night on both the other side, I think, for just a little bit, and on Real Talk. Martyrdom is that transitional period, supposedly, when you're going on that journey, that you're in that, like I said, you're not quite dead, you're not quite alive yet, but you're in that process of that journey. There was a movie that came out. The first time it came out was in 2008, and the second time it came out in 2015/16, depending on what site you go on. I think the actual movie came out in 2015. It's all about that martyrdom, and it kind of makes you think. The storyline was this young girl got held captive by these people when she was young. They kept her in this warehouse, and they chained her to a chair that had a hole in it, and there was a bucket below that was used for potty. She managed to escape, and she go into an orphanage, and the orphanage was raising her, and she met this good friend of hers. They were Lucy and Anna. She was Lucy, her best friend was Anna. Anna befriended her, and their ties become very close. And matter of fact, the psychologist and that would come in and talk to Anna to see, because Lucy would have nightmares and all these. She just kept to herself. She didn't want to speak a lot about what had actually happened to her. And so they would question Anna if Lucy opened up to her about anything that happened. And regardless, they got that real close bond. And they showed it like 15 years, 10 or 15 years later when they were adult young ladies. And Lucy wanted to get her revenge. She saw a newspaper article and she recognized the people and she wanted to get her revenge on them. So I don't want to do that. So spoiler alert if you haven't seen this. So she goes and she gets her revenge. Anna steps in to help her friend out. She didn't like the route her friend went, but she was her there for her. In the process, she ends up getting caught by the same people, and now she's held captive. Now, I don't want to tell the rest of the story, but from that point on, things get very, very, very disturbing. It's a movie that's really, really hard to watch. It will have an impact on you deeply if you watch it. And the only reason why I watched it is because the storyline, the gruesomeness, the what she went through. I hate that I saw it, but it all tied in. The whole story was that the people that held these girls captive, they wanted to put them through extreme torture and hell to the point where their body completely broke down and they got to that state. And she showed the girls when they were torturing them and mentally destroying them, how your eyes look right when you're in that martyrdom state. And they break these girls down to that state because her goal was, when they were at that point, she wanted to know what they saw and how they felt and what they were thinking. Like, and it just gets real deep and real emotional there. And there was four girls, I guess, that got to that state, but as they were in the martyrdom, their body just gave up and they died. Anna was the only one out of all of them, if I'm saying it right, if I remember, she was the only one that actually was able to get to that state. Her eyes went totally blank. She had that same look. She was then in that transition, and she was able to whisper to the person that was the leader of this, of what she felt and what she saw. And that was the answer that that lady wanted. Now, it makes you think, are there people in this world, which I'm going to answer that probably yes, that will actually go to those lengths to try to get that answer? Because everybody wants that prize photo to prove that there's afterlife. Everybody wants that prize EVP voice, that no shadow of a doubt that that's not of the earth. Everybody wants that proof. Everybody wants that full bodied spirit approaching in motion to prove that the afterlife exists. Nobody has been able to do it so far. So what lengths will people go to try to prove that that actually does happen, that there's either reincarnation, that there is afterlife, whatever. So that's kind of all I found right now. Um, it's a very, very deep subject. I'm sure that I could do a lot more research and find a lot more on it. I've always been fascinated by it because I believe in the afterlife. I do 100% believe in reincarnation. I believe that if you have unfinished business and you didn't satisfy your way of life as one being, physical being on earth, that you will come back as another physical being. I believe also moles, scars, birthmarks, when you're born, kind of can indicate a way that you died in your past life. Your fears, like fears of drowning, fears of burning in a fire, fears that you have. I don't like being on a boat. I can swim, not real well, but I just don't like being on a boat. Maybe in one of my past lives, I died on a boat. I don't know, and but I believe that those all could be clues leading up to proof that of the afterlife. So let me see here if we have any. Okay, I don't understand why you didn't get a notification again, B squared, because I put on our Facebook page a little thumbnail with a scheduled, and then I also did put on my YouTube page. I scheduled. It wasn't with the thumbnail, but it was a post scheduling that I would be on tonight at 8:30. I don't understand why a lot of people aren't getting the notifications because I want to start. Gabriella and it's hard. I always want to schedule for a certain time, but things come up with Gabriella, and I'll have to literally say, are we going to do a live tonight? And it's usually sometime right before. Abby said she never got a notification. I don't understand that. You should have got a notification. I'm not understanding what's going on with that. You guys have your bell pushed for YouTube to get the notification? But YouTube, like Eric said, YouTube being YouTube again. So, um, Eric said that was one of the few movies that he couldn't bring himself to watch. And um, it is, again, folks, if you haven't seen it, but your curiosity's piqued and you want to see it, there are two versions. To me, they're almost exactly alike, just some few differences in them. Um, it's very disturbing, but the storyline up to when she's held captive isn't too bad, but then when she's held captive, it gets very disturbing. But that very, very end there, when you see why that all happened and what the final goal was, you're there like, oh shit. You know, are people actually doing this to try to prove that there is that transitional period and to hear what your last thoughts might be, what you're thinking, what you're hearing when you're going through martyrdom? So, let's see. B squared. I even unsubbed and resubbed last night, so I don't know either. I'm not a Facebook. See, I'm not getting it because the last couple of times that people has come on, they said that they did not get it. And Abby says, yes, the bell was pushed. I don't know what's going on with that. I guess the good thing about it, if there is a good thing, is that if you're not watching it live here, you can rewatch it on the replay. That's the good thing about even with taping live because you can see it on, excuse me, on the replay. So I don't know why I'm damn you YouTube, you need to stop your crap. You shouldn't have to unsubscribe and resubscribe for YouTube to get their act together. Because like I said, because I even read to Eric today when I did my YouTube post, I said, Eric, this is what I'm going to put and I'm going to schedule it for 8:30. Does this sound all right? And he said, yeah, Mom, that sounds good. And then I put the exact same thing on my Facebook page. But on my Facebook page, I did put the time period, but I had a thumbnail because it was a like a shadow guy walking into this like tunnel like of lights. So I don't understand what's going on. Just glad I came online and saw you live on my page. I'm glad you came on 2B squared. I wish that YouTube would get their act together because I started this at 8:30. I usually like to try to keep these since I'm by myself. I don't like my voice. Like sometimes I get irritated at the sound of my own voice, and I don't want to be too torturous to those who may be watching. And I don't know how boring I may come across or how exciting I might be. But I like to try to keep it around an hour because I'm by myself. Now, when I have a guest on with me, I might go over that hour, maybe go an hour and a half or so. Now, on our other channel, since there's two of us talking back and forth and giving our opinions and answering questions or responding to comments, then it'll be a whole different story. But when I'm on here like this by myself, I don't like to ramble on too much because like I said, I find my own voice irritating, but I think a lot of people find their own voices irritating. So it's just me and this thing that I have about myself. So um, yeah, you're right. Linda goes, like road works, they're always fixing the decent roads, not the potholes. Pennsylvania is pothole heaven. But I'll tell you what, I thought Pennsylvania roads was bad until we moved to South Carolina. Oh my gosh, the roads down there were horrible, especially the roads right in front of our house. Like that explains why a lot of people down there, their cars like frames, wheels, no doors, you can't open the trunk up, you can barely open the hood up, like they don't have inspection or anything there, so that explains a lot. So, um, yeah, see, like you said, B squared. We all hate our own voice. I hate my own voice. I just one of the reasons for this format without being redundant was so that I can get over this how I hate a lot of things about myself, but I really shouldn't be that way, and I know I've been told that because a lot of people don't like themselves or there's things about themselves they don't like. But then you get the other people that are like, "Oh, I'm gonna take a selfie," and they claim that they have self-esteem problems and they have selfies on every 15 minutes. So like I don't get it. I don't get it. But um, for the longest time, I would not let anybody take my picture. You would not see me in a format like this at all. But then my brain actually kicked in and started working. And I'm there, wait a minute, I'm not getting any younger. I want to make sure that we never know what's going to happen from one day to the next. And if something unexpected should happen, my family will have this format and pictures to look on and to remember me by. So I finally got out of my, oh, woe is me, I don't like myself, which I don't, but then thought of my kids and my family, said, well, you know what? It doesn't matter what I think at this point. I love my family. I know they love me, and I want them to have memories of me. So I I'm opening up a little bit and trying to get a little bit more comfortable and so forth. So, um, thank you, Linda. She says you've come so far already, Diane. I'm trying. My girls, my kids, they help a lot. Um, Tom does. Tom gets and he don't like it if I cut myself down. But my girls, have you seen when we've been on shows, if I start cutting myself down, they'll kind of give me a little. Not, a lot of people might take it the wrong way, but we pick on each other like that, like, oh, which is it kind of, I'm going to segue and go to a story when I was with my ex. My ex and I would kind of smack each other around, just playfully. And we had to go back to school under a program that we went to together. And while we were there, we kind of just pick on each other and that. And after we split up, one of the ladies that was in that same class with us was telling everybody that I was abusing him. Now, that was before I put on weight and that. I'm tiny. I'm only like 5 foot, like 5'1". And at that time, I weighed only like maybe 107 pounds, 110 pounds. I wasn't very heavy at all, just a little tiny thing. And he was lifting weights and that, and he was considerable bigger and bulkier than me. And they're telling everybody that I abused him, and they're like, "Oh, good lord!" It was the same playful thing that Abby and I do, and Gabriella and I do. That little like they smack me a little bit gently to say, "Mom, shape up," stop saying that about yourself. And but whatever. Like I said, that was the segue. It went off, wholly off the subject, but you get my drift. Um, but I see we're going for an hour and 6 minutes now. I'm not seeing, does anybody have any comments or any questions about from any of my research here tonight on the afterlife that you may be a little confused about or are curious about? And if I can't answer, I can always research and give you the answer on my next live. Anybody that watches after this airs, if you have any questions or um, comments, please feel free. I always read anything that comes. I try to answer them as soon as I get a notification that somebody commented. I try to hurry up and reply as quickly as I can. Um, I'm open to anything. I'm not quite sure what my next subject's going to be. I do like touching these type of things. My Aleister Crowley one, I had been fascinated by him for a long time. Afterlife, of course, that's our forte. That goes along with our paranormal and our investigating and proving, or trying to prove if it all ends right there at death or do you move on. Let me see. Eric goes, this isn't a question, but I've always been fascinated with reincarnation. What's not to be fascinated by it? I mean, of course, the Indians, they really believe in reincarnation. And again, I believe it. I believe like like I said, some people they don't understand why they have a mole in a particular place, which according to some myths and some theories that represents an area that you might have got shot at or stabbed in a prior life. There's some significance to it. Of course, if you go into the Salem witch witches in that area, moles represented signs of the devil. Those they were marks of the devil. So it depends on what culture, what religion, what direction you go on what your beliefs are in reincarnation. Everybody's going to have an explanation, but nobody really has an answer yet. So, but believing in reincarnation and the fascination, absolutely, it's an incredibly fascinating subject, and I've always been very interested in it. Okay, Linda, is it possible for a paranormal investigator not to believe in spirits? Yes, yes, yes. Um, Paranormal investigators are going out trying to find if we can communicate with spirits and loved ones, but they're also going out, as you find out, to prove that there's not spirits, if that makes sense. Like the debunkers, a lot of debunkers are paranormal investigators, and yeah, they want to cross that proof that there's spirits, but they're also a lot of them go in as skeptics when they become paranormal investigators, but they go in because they're skeptics. So they'll be going in there believing that there's no such thing as spirits. There's no such thing as reincarnation. There's no such thing as paranormal activity. They're just going in, finding out, okay, what's going on here because all these claims, these people are saying this, but I'm going to go in. I'm going to try it. I'm not going to find anything. They have that state of mind. I'm going to do it just to see what all everybody's. the direction people are going, but I'm not going to find anything. And then lo and behold, a lot of believers become believers because of going in as skeptics. That, they go in that way. So it's kind of, you know, yes, that is possible. Um, so B square, Diane, we enjoy your voice and personality. So try not to overthink it. I really appreciate that, B squared. And the problem is, and you can ask my family, my children. I do. I do. I I just I gotta get over this. And again, I can't stress enough. I went back way, way long ago. There's so many things. I'm not saying all of it was bullying and that, but just different things throughout my youth and growing up, and even as adult, that happened. That every time I started building myself up, it somehow got knocked back down. And I try not to overthink it and try to move on, but it's like, how can I say? I guess it would be like a person that got cheated on. You don't ever want to imagine. You want to forget it, but there's always going to be reminders. It's like different things like that. Something traumatic happens in your life. You want to pass it on and leave it gone, but there's always going to be something to bring it back, and you're going to overthink it again. It's kind of like that thing. I'll get over it. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm ever going to be 100% great on it, but I'm trying. So, and with friends like you guys, faithful followers, people believe in me. I'll do it. I'll get there. It's a journey. So B squared. I imagine some investigators want to disprove. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, a lot of people, they go in it purposely to try because they're skeptics. They were like, okay, these people, like some of these places that a lot of people say that it's full of activity. They'll go in and they may not get any activity, but that doesn't really mean anything. But because they didn't get activity, they think that, okay, that's it. These people, I don't know what they're experiencing, but there's nothing here. Spirits are not always going to be there at every given time when you go. You can go to the same place 15 times, and that doesn't mean you can have the exact same things happening each time you go there. You might go there that many times, and maybe only one of the 15 times you go there, you're going to have activity. It's just the roll of the cards and what kind of mood the spirits happen to be in that day and who they may happen to want to communicate with. So, like the last time we went to the Johnston house, the spirits were very active. They liked Beverly a lot, who was the facilitator. They really communicated with her. This time we go, we're going to try to talk to them, see if they remember us, but that doesn't mean we're going to necessarily get any activity. We're going to have to see what happens when we go there. We're going to give it our best shot. But, if we don't, you're still going to see the film and you're going to see that, hey, not every time you go to an investigation are you going to catch something. But that's where we prove how genuine we are and how honest we are. We're not just only going to show video when we capture stuff. We're going to show videos of the location we go to, whether we catch something or not. The only reason why we didn't do the theater one that day is because, again, all of our audio was corrupted. So it would have been literally there. By the time Abby would have edited out all the dry, boring, no audio, you might have had maybe 15 minutes of video made, and it's like, yeah, it might have been worth those 15 minutes, but why even? It was kind of like a lost cause when the audio, and it wasn't just on one piece of equipment, it was like on all of our equipment, the audio was corrupted. So, um, B squared. I taught jewelry making classes for many years. When you're interested in what you're doing and the people involved, you lose all self consciousness. Trust me. Oh, I do. I know exactly what you're talking about. You do. You absolutely do. Which is funny that you said you teach jewelry classes and that. The room that we're gonna convert into, we call the art room right now in the house, we're gonna convert it into our studio. It's gonna be an art room, it's gonna be, a craft room and studio, and, when we get in our especially me, when if I get into my crafts and that, I lose all consciousness. I'm not aware of anything that goes on, so, um B squared again, positive self-talk is very powerful. Make it a conscious habit for a week to pay attention to catch any negative self-talk and turn it around. I I try. I do. I try, but it just comes around and sometimes I just can't help it. I just sometimes I just look at myself and I'm there like and I hear myself and they're okay, Diane, you promised yourself you wouldn't go this direction and it's just I've been pretty good lately. I haven't been all that bad, but I think it's incidences when I see not necessarily if it's involving me, but other people getting like body shamed or being cut down, made fun of. It kind of comes back and haunts you that way. So um, I would never compare myself to anybody else. I'm not like I am unique. That's one thing I can give myself credit for. I don't try to be like anybody else. I don't wanna be like anybody else, and I just need to I just need to start feeling proud of myself. Sometimes I can pat myself on the back and say, "Diane, you did good today." Other times I'm there like, "What the hell were you thinking?" And, you know, "Did you talk too much, Diane? You're boring the shit out of people." Like, I get in these states of frames of mind, and that's just me. You guys, the more you learn and see me on here and on the other channels, I'm sure all of you guys are pretty much picking up on my personality already. So, um, how do demons fit in with spirits? That's a very good question. I like that question a lot because the word demons is being thrown around too loosely. Demons are usually something that was never ever uh, they were never of this earth. They were never human. I can't say of there. They were never human. They were usually something brought them into play. They were conjured up. Um, they were brought in by rituals or cultures. Um, that's a whole other subject. But a lot of people like we love watching Twin Paranormal. I know a lot of people hate them, can't stand them, said they're too jacked up. I like them. I find them humorous, but once they hit their million subscribers, every place they go, there are demons there. A lot of places you go to, you may feel a lot of negative energy, and we've touched on this before, and there's such a vast difference between them. Negative energy usually can be created by people that died in a bad way. People that were not good people when they were alive, that committed murder, did horrible things, they're not going to come back as nice people. And people will look at them and construe them as evil, almost demon like, but that doesn't make them a demon. It just, the word use, that word's just thrown around too loosely. Um, the spirit part, since the demon part of spirits comes from culture and and a lot of things like that. Like I said, demons were never ever in the human form. So it could have been something kind of like an elemental, something of the earth, but was not a good part that was conjured up. So it's just that's a whole other topic. I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit before, and it's just a lot of people don't understand that you need to learn how to differentiate those words. Um, we can get on that and like possessed objects. If people believe that objects can be possessed, and different things like that sometime in the future, but I would like people to start putting on there what topics they would like me to discuss. It could be a person, it could be a subject, I don't care. So, let me see. Are people thrilled to die? Most people aren't. I'm not sure exactly how you mean that. Most people aren't, but you do get these people like in that movie Martyrs. They studied these people when they tortured them and everything to that martyrdom that I'm gonna give away a spoiler that I don't wanna say it though. Let's just say she wanted to die after she heard what the girl whispered, what Anna whispered to her. She wanted to die. So, whatever Anna whispered to her about what that transitional journey was, she wanted to die. Um, Both demons and angels are mentioned in the Bible. How come no investigators come across angels? And that's a good question. Everybody always says they have their spirit guide and there's angels all around them, but people claim to see spirits, people claim to see demons, but nobody ever claims to see angels. I'm personally going to say two things. My mom swears to God, well, my mom's passed now, but she swears to God when my cousin, she all of our we were in a coal mining community, and all of our parents worked in the local coal mines. And the houses that we lived in were called company houses. So the coal mining company, they built all these houses specifically so the coal miners and their families could be close to where the mines was. And you could actually buy these houses through the company. And when my one cousin got sick and she passed, my mom swears to God that she saw an angel float from her house to our neighbor's house on the day that she passed away. We have, and I have to see if I can find it somewhere, when Gabriella was little. Tom used to smoke. He has been smoke free for, I'm going to say 12 plus years now, maybe longer. When he stopped smoking, well, it was before when he did smoke, and there's a couple pictures of Gabriella. One in particular, there's a picture, and it kind of does look like smoke around her. But number one, when the pictures was taken, Tom was not smoking. And there's a couple pictures because we did the Polaroids, click, click, click with the Polaroids. It was those old, which they say Polaroid cameras are very, very good pieces of tool to use to try to capture an image. I don't know if anybody knows that. I don't know why it is. I can't remember what the explanation was, but they said Polaroid pictures are excellent sources to use for that. But anyhow, there was about 3 or 4 pictures taken, click, 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 and I hope I can come across them. And Tom was not smoking. He wasn't even in the room with her. And the one in particular, you'll see like before and you'll see after, but the one in particular, Gabriella sat in there, and there's this around her. And when you look at it closely, it looks almost like a set of angel wings. It's very, very, very bizarre, very interesting. But we've looked it over like several times, very, very, very closely, and it looks like a set of angel wings. So was that a guardian angel or an actual angel watching around her? Like, we don't know, but it happened in a couple pictures. It happened in a couple pictures. We noticed some not as prevalent as what that one picture there was, but can you come across angels? I'm going to say, yeah, it's possible. But I guess angels, though, wasn't supposed to be of the earth either. They come from heaven, just like Lucifer was a fallen angel. It could have been a fallen angel, depending on, again, that goes into the religious, the Bible, and and what your beliefs are about that type of stuff. So, anybody else have any questions or comments? Because I'm now almost at an hour and a half. I think this, for my being my first solo live, has actually gone pretty good. I think it went pretty well. So I'm gonna pat myself on the back just for you guys. And if there's no questions, City of Angels. Yeah, yeah, City of Angels, Eric. I love that movie. I absolutely love that movie, and I cry like a baby every time I see it because it's so touching. It's just such a well written, beautiful movie. Um, I'm going to call it a night here with you guys. Please feel free to make any comments. Please, suggestions. I'm willing to talk anything. I try to stay away from politics, although I could possibly touch base on it a little bit at one time. Again, I'm going to say right now, my opinion, nobody needs to like it, but that's why I have my show. I try to sway from it, though. Same as religion. We touched on it a little bit here today, but it pertained to the subject. I try to avoid those. Um, Gay, lesbian stuff. I have a lot of gay and lesbian friends. I love them to death. I would never ever judge anybody on it. And don't you even think about coming on my page and slamming any of my friends or anybody that is in the gay community, because I will seek you out and I'll beat you. I don't tolerate it. I don't go for that stuff. I don't have, I, I love everybody. I don't have any issues with anybody. That goes in another whole area. So like I said, I sway from that, but we will not do body shaming. I may say curse words on here. I may say a couple things that may seem offensive. I'm not going that way. Like last night, I was talking about Will on Stranger Things, and I called him a PUSSY, which I'm not going to say today. I should have just said wussy. I didn't mean it in any odd way or anything, because Jonathan is kind of the same way. Gabriella brought up that point. He is. I could have called him the same word because on that show they both have their demons, and that comes with, I guess, being a single coming from a single parent. The father left him for a younger woman, and um, you get your demons. So, but I'm rambling on and on and on again, and I think this was a beautiful hour and a half, a little bit longer than what I anticipated on. You guys are just wonderful. Like, you really show me the support and the love. I cannot thank you enough. Please put comments and everything in that on there. Please put suggestions. Um, Tell people to like and subscribe. Again, none of us would ever, it's never ever about trying to make money. It's just we enjoy doing what we're doing, and we would love to see people coming and saying, hey, you know what? I support you. I support what you talk about. So please like, subscribe, push the notification bell. I don't know what's going on with that. I'll keep on my show trying to post the scheduling and a thumbnail. Gabriella, now, on the other hand, I kind of have to bump start her to get her to agree on a definite date and time. And of course, then don't forget me and Abby on Poetry Hour and Lurking Spirits. Keep your ears and eyes open, folks. We've got some exciting stuff coming up here soon. So, with that being said, I'm going to end the show tonight with until we meet again, I'll catch you on the other side. And we love you guys. Love you, love you, love you. Thank you for joining in. And we'll catch you in the next couple days again with another show. Bye, everyone.